How's everybody doing? Thank you for coming, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Jamesrollins. I'm from Tacoma's community. I would like to talk to you about community history, regentrification, and social relevance, and the BPC. First, bear with me for a moment. Give me your full cooperation and participation. I need it to be totally silent. Now I want you to place your hand over your heart and focus on your heartbeat. Do you feel that? That is your heart beating in unison, representing the heartbeats of the community. In here, behind these walls of separation, we represent the heartbeats of this community and the communities out there that we are physically absent from, but still belong to. Through the BPC, the Black Prisoners Caucus, we strive to give back and get back to our communities. The BPC is a nonprofit organization that started 48 years ago out of the necessity for protection, education, and prison equal employment opportunities for people of color in the 1970s. Since then, we have evolved to become inclusive in the work we do while legislative, educational, reintegration, youth, family, and social initiatives encompass life principles such as unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Our BBC family has grown in such a magnitude that almost every prison in this state is trying to open a chapter. Our BBC family, beyond these walls, no longer consists of sponsors and volunteers from churches and organizations, but also our family and community members, here regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, or class status. Through the BBC, many positive programs are created, such as BBC Teach, Taking Education and Creating History, which is a non-restricted peer-to-peer-led education system operated by the BBC in various facilities that complement the restrictive contractual education system that exists in all prisons. Through that program, Lawrence and I have created the BBC Teach Circle of Life Garden and Culinary Arts Training Program. Starting this program in here complements the Circle of Life movement we have started out there. We're not just preaching. We're trying to live it in here, too. Let's talk about community. 3 years ago, an idea was born in the BBC meeting. I said I wanted to start a fundamental garden course through our Teach program to give the community in here a way to connect on a social level regardless of affiliation. And we can mirror this program in various communities as a way for our people to get to know each other and become socially relevant to each other again. After hearing me talk about this, a brother, Lawrence, who I barely knew, but who has since become a good friend, came to the BBC Social Committee, which I'm the facilitator and Lawrence the co-facilitator of, and told me about his experience and vast knowledge on the garden and community subject. We started bouncing ideas off each other and changed the fundamentals of the garden course to BBC Teach, Circle of Life Garden, then to BBC Teach, Circle of Life Garden and Culinary Arts Training Program, which we are fighting an uphill battle to get approved and implemented here at Stafford Creek Correctional Center. We, the community on the inside, must also become socially relevant to each other, eat healthy, live healthy, and become productive community. The Circle of Life movement is about and for the community. This movement encompasses the people, all the people. Let me tell you about what that heartbeat meant at the beginning. The early 80s, that heartbeat still existed. So let's talk about the history of community. In the early 80s, our communities were together. Our communities had block festivals, carnivals, parades. We lived and we socialized together. Everybody knew everybody. Now we don't know nobody. Back then, we can go next door and get whatever we needed for our household. Now we don't even know who lives next door to us. Back then, everybody knew who everybody was in a 2 to 4 block radius in every direction. We can go down the street. I could be playing down the street when I was a kid, and 4 blocks away, and do something wrong and get a whooping for it, and that person to take me home to my mama and tell my mama why they whooped me. or discipline me, and it'll be okay, because that's the trust we had in the community. Because the community back then was socially relevant to each other. The community back then was protective of each other and the community. The community back then loved and cared for our community. In the mid-'80s, in the early to mid-'80s, gang violence and drugs plagued our communities. The children were left to fend for themselves. The elders were engrossed in the street life, be it the gang life, drugs, pimping, prostitution, stealing, killing, all of it. Prison was being filled with people from our communities. We lost everything. We didn't know how to trust anymore. We didn't know how to love. We didn't know how to care. We lost all of this. This movement that we have started, this Circle of Life movement, is going to teach us again how to become one, how to become a community, how to love, how to care. We're going to start over and till the soil together. We're not reaching to the youth. We're not reaching to the elders. We're not reaching to the homeless. We're not reaching to the homeless. We're reaching to everybody all at once. We don't want to reach just one class of people. We want to reach everybody in our community. We want to pull all the community together. We want to pull the churches together. We want to pull the homeless together. We want to pull the gang members together. We want to pull the dope dealers together. We want to pull the addicts together. See, we have a fear of going out there in them streets and talking to these people. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Back in Travis, our church is on 23rd and K. They used to come through and they used to talk to us and feed us and all kinds of things. They didn't have that fear back then with the gun, with the bullets, things like that. They still came out. They still fed people out the back of their church. They came out to the community. We can't keep fearing our streets. We can't fear the gang members. We can't fear the homeless. We can't fear the addicts. Those are our people too. We got to go out and reach out to them. What do they need? What can we do for them? But we can only do this as a community, as a collective, as organizations in collaboration. The Circle of Life movement and the Circle of Life Gardens have the ability to heal. If you go all the way back in time to ancient Africa, to ancient Egypt, to Asia, to Europe, all these different places use gardens to heal. When the elders got to hunt or provide for the family in the village, they used a garden. Well, we're going to start this over. We're going to till the soil together. So when we till the soil, I'll tell you what happens. We till the soil, and we get in there. We have the young in there. We have the elders in there. We have the middle age in there. And they start planting seeds that they want to plant seeds of their desire. And then they start noticing what the others plant. They start conversating. Conversation brings understanding. Conversation brings knowledge. So when they start conversating about what this next thing is, they start building with each other. When they start building with each other, they start realizing they have more in common than what they think. They start realizing, well, I'm this age and I can still talk to my elders without thinking they're going to get on me about something. And the elders can talk to the youngsters without the youngsters looking at them like they done lost their mind. Okay? So when they start building these gardens, they're going to start talking. They're going to start storytelling. They're going to tell stories about now. They're going to tell stories about the street. And the elders are going to tell stories about what used to be and what can be. So that's what we're going to get back to. We're going to get back to what we were doing back in the early 80s, back in the 70s, back in the 60s and 50s. That's what we're going to get back to. So pulling this soil together and building together, we're going to start protecting what we built. And when we protect what we built, we protect the people in it that we built. So when we protect the people in it that we built, that people is our community. So we start caring. With that protection comes caring. With that protection comes love. With that protection comes a community socially relevant to each other again. A community that knows each other. A community that when you go next door, you know who your neighbor is. When you go 2 blocks down the road, you know who that neighbor is and you know who them people's kids is. So, let's talk about the food we eat. Just want to hit on this for just a second. Because all a part of the community. We got to eat healthier. We're quick to buy things. We're quick to buy things that come from miles away, or come from vast bodies of water, shipped from vast bodies of water. But we are not quick to build these things and grow these things ourselves. So we are being filled with all this enhanced stuff that they put in our fruits and vegetables and meats and things, when we can do it ourselves. We grow it right there in our communities. Start our own farmers markets in all these communities. I'm not just talking about the communities of color, but I'm talking about the communities of all color. We can do this right here in our neighborhoods and eat healthy, to become healthy, and live longer. We have to reconstruct the relationship between healthy eating, healthy living, people, and community. That's what the circle of life is bringing. See, we gave 100% to all that other stuff, to all the nonsense out there in the streets. We gave 100% to all that, and only got 10% back in return. Maybe not even that. Now it's time to give 100% to each and every one of us, to life, to our community, to our social relevance to each other, to the regentrification of our communities. It's time to give 100% back to that, because it's going to give us 100% back. 3 years ago, 2 men from rival gangs came together, building on a related idea to grow as men and build a movement, not for self, but for the community. That was amazing. 24 years ago when I came to prison, I never thought this could happen. Now we together, and joining with our collaborative efforts, can change and build our communities. You too are a part of our community. That's my time. The movement is live.